You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, September 1st, 2022. It is also National Letter Writing Day. And thank you for joining us here at High at 9 News. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're on Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. But with no time to spare, let's bust into our first sponsor so we can start this show off right.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Today, we have coming up first, we have the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte. When he's not changing diapers or making bottles, that's right, he's talking at TEDx conventions to all the other grown-up adult children in the room. But when he's not doing any of his babysitting duties, then you can typically find him practicing his football drills when he's backpedaling on safe banking. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Oh, yeah, Jason. You know what time it is. Viva Panama! Welcome back, everybody. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. My story today is out of Benzinga by Nicolas Jose Rodriguez. Panama regulates the medicinal use of cannabis. Central America officially has a new power player in the industry. That's right. Yesterday evening, the president of the Republic of Panama, Laurentino Cortizo, signed an executive decree approving Law 242 to regulate medicinal and therapeutic use of cannabis and its derivatives. Sanctioned by President Cortizo in October 2021, Law 242 gives Panama the power and opportunity to realize its industrial potential, leveraging its natural climate, investment-friendly governance framework, and strategic location to become an international hub given its large port infrastructure and well-sedimented trade routes. The announcement dropped right before the opening ceremonies of the LATAM Cannabis, currently the largest Latin America cannabis conference, which Panama is hosting right now. Today is day one. Cortizo's decree creates a regulatory framework allowing use of cannabis for therapeutic, medical, veterinary, scientific, and research purposes. He also signed a second decree creating a national directorate for monitoring administrative and operational activities, including sanitary registrations required for Law 242's implementation, which will monitor industry-related activities through field visits and ensure compliance with industry guidelines for those interested in producing medical cannabis in the Central American country. Going forward, medicinal cannabis will be available to people by prescription, and this will be controlled by and supervised through what the article says to be a rigorous and reliable patient registration system. In a quote from the piece, Cortizo said, "The purpose of All of this is for Panama to have the best management model for the medical cannabis industry. Our intention is to promote, and in the medium and long term, the establishment of local and foreign companies that can supply the domestic market using raw materials produced in Panama. While this isn't outright legalization, I think it is a huge step forward for the country, a win for the people of Panama, and also for Black cannabis-loving expats looking for an alternative to whatever socioeconomic promises continue to be broken here in America. As a second-generation Panamanian myself, I gotta say, today's news got me with a big-ass smile on my face for my people. And maybe my family, my ancestors will no longer look down on me with shame for entering the cannabis industry and leaving corporate finance. So big ups to my people. Viva Panama. And I can't wait to hear the rest of the team's response to this one. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News Hour.
I love this story, Rico. Thanks for sharing. I keep a running list of places that I can visit that are safe for me to visit, that I can consume cannabis. So I get to add Panama to that list. I'm so excited. I can't wait to visit.
Yes,
For me,
indeed.
I'm such a logistics nerd. Like literally when we're having the conversations of logistics, if anybody understands shipping logistics for the United States, Panama Canal is literally one of the most important things. And it's been like updated and updated and updated. So when we're talking about logistics and we're talking about like federal legalization, and we're talking about being able to export products, being able to ship stuff through the Panama Canal without having like that fear, I think is going to be a bit of a relief for people. So I think it's positive that Panama is moving in that direction, because when we're starting to talk about international anything with America involved, we need to get Panama on board, because we need to be able to get through the canal.
Yes.
Does anyone know about cultivation in Panama? Is it an ideal place to grow? Like, would humidity be an issue down there?
Most of South America, you could grow weed. Like literally majority of it. Like there's some places and like different types of cannabis, obviously, like depending on your altitude and everything. But majority of South America is a good place to go.
Central America.
The plant loves that tropical. The plant loves that tropical climate. So Central America, Caribbean, Northern South America. Grow wildly outside.
But do they have the land mass to be a real player?
No, but they have the hub. They have the logistics.
I get the hub. They got the canal. I got that side.
They're the plug. They're going to be the plug
it's
connecting North America, South America, and everything in between. Like, we'll be going through the Panama Canal, and I cannot wait. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And
just like the Caribbean, though, they can focus on their land race genetics, Gretchen, instead of trying to grow like bulks and bulks of hemp for production. They should be focusing on whatever land race is indigenous to that land, to that area.
No, I get that. I would be concerned about international laws, like how that will impact actual transport of goods or something through the Panama Canal. I'm not. And do we really see, bales and bales of cannabis being put on boats through the Panama Canal?
Yes, absolutely.
I see
100%, especially once we start talking about it as a commodity. And absolutely. 100%.
Bushels and bushels of product being
packs and packs and packs.
And once people stop being ignorant to the fact that cannabis and hemp are the same thing, we'll realize that it's already happening.
Yes. I get it, but I think transporting through international waters is going to be a problem, as we've seen with all commerce so far related to this.
But I mean, don't they ship through international waters when they send weed from Canada to Germany?
Yeah, and they're doing it regularly right now, and that. And so for me, I just want to make sure
putting it on boats.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, absolutely,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, international air is just as bad.
Boats, planes, trains.
Yeah, whatever they can get it on. Yeah.
There's no underwater train, Nicole.
That's not true. That's not true. Have you ever been to fucking London? That's not true. There absolutely is an underwater train that connects. You're wrong.
It does not go from one continent to the other continent. Was my point.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Technically
in the Bay Area, there's the BART train that goes underwater. Technically.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah, the Merchant of Death has a bunch of planes that are decommissioned right now. We can use those to drop fucking bushels of Panamanian packs all over the motherfucking world. Gretchen, are you
So
are
if
you
it
upset
was,
about
it
that?
would,
Does that hurt you?
would it be
I'm
booth
not
bales,
opposed
Rico?
to it. I would like to see it go as smoothly as you all think it's going to.
I just can't wait to. Yeah, we had
No one
actually.
thinks it's going to go smoothly, Gretchen, at all. We're just hopeful that every little piece helps. And just like you say, when you talk about Washington, you're like, you got to take what you can get. This is similar situations, right? Like we have to see these little
I'm good
things as
with it.
wins and be
Yay, Panama!
into it
I
as
wish
a
I had a
win.
T-shirt like Rico. Yay, Panama!
I'll
Let's
send
do
you
it.
one. I'll send you one, and I'll
All
get
right.
some. I'll get some fresh ones made. I'm gonna get you a Panamanian dashiki
So-
made as well.
So hold on a second. I have a
Balboa.
serious question.
They
Since the
call shirt
Panama,
jackets.
I have
Yes.
a serious connection. Since the Panama Canal is going to open up for cannabis trafficking, does that mean that out in the great waters we're going to experience pot pirates?
Arg.
Matey.
I would like to be a pot pirate. You
I
know?
bet.
I'll join your pot piracy. I'll join your pot piracy.
Your
Promise.
pot
I'm going to be
piracy.
a pot pirate avenger. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to be like,
You're going to
stopping
fight the
pot pirates.
pirates?
Yeah, I'm going to stop
They're
the
going to
pot
hire
pirates.
you. They're going to
Yeah.
hire you. Look at that. Look at that, Rico.
I am
Rico has a
Panamanian
bird.
pot pirate.
Yes. Look at that, Captain Rico Sparrow. Arg.
I think we're at time on the headline, but that's a super interesting story, Rico. And yes, Gretchen, you're not wrong. It's not going to be like an overnight thing, but we got to take what we can get, and every little bit helps. And when we're talking about Central and South America, I think that this is something that we need to be paying very close attention to, because as we've talked about in the previous conversations about the relationship between North America and South America, like we need to figure out how to connect those two in a big way. And so if cannabis can come online in one of our biggest logistics, that could be exciting.
Yeah, big ups to my man Marco at Gorilla RX over here. He's my other Panamanian brother in the industry. I don't know too many Panamanians in the industry.
We have Priscilla
gotta go.
Agancillo
Homeland.
joining us from Clubhouse today. Do you have a comment on this article, Priscilla?
What up, Pete?
What up, fam? Miss you guys. Yeah, Panama has been going at it for a while. Really glad that it's like reached this level. But Colombia has been successfully exporting cannabis into Germany as well. And I think it is actually going a lot smoother than we know, because these players have been doing it already for now a couple of years. So I'm looking forward to this international trade. It might all be boof, but
It's come on, Priscilla. You know it's all boof. Come on, you know it's all fucking a
I
bunch of
agree with
hay.
Priscilla. I agree with Priscilla. I know they've been exporting from Colombia for a while. It was my understanding they were exporting extracts. I did not know if they were exporting actual flower. I have not heard that. Does anyone know?
Yeah, they're doing flower, seeds. They started with seeds first, even before extracts. And
I know Canada's shipping flower too. I knew.
Priscilla, do you know, is it all indoor because of the humidity out there, or is there a lot of outdoor that's being utilized?
Colombia, there's a lot of outdoor.
As far as Colombia, it's all outdoor. It's all outdoor.
Okay.
But they've got some pretty sophisticated operations. They were some of the first to be able to really achieve GAP standards for an outdoor cultivation operation. They were really impressive with their operations.
How's that for us? A clap back to the war on drugs. You were using fucking Colombia and Panama to push all these fucking packs into the fucking our communities, and now we in our nations are rising up before America gets their shit together, and we're gonna fucking capitalize off of that shit first. So I think it's a huge win for the global community, and it's a huge win against the global racist and illegal war on drugs that has been a hit on communities of color.
I've been to grows in Colombia, and Priscilla's right. They are massively impressive, much more so than grows I've been to in the U.S.
Massive amounts of booth.
It's amazing what they're doing. And frankly, their stance on it is, Colombia is the #1 exporter of flowers in the world. And we're talking, roses and this and that. And they're like, cannabis is just another flower. So we know exactly what we're doing. So the Colombians have been doing very well with this.
Yeah, they've been
Oh yeah, they're like
they've been pushing flower
logistics.
worldwide.
They're logistics masters. I mean, come on, look what they did with Cabo.
Cocaína.
But yeah, no, they're serious about their operations. Like one farm that I was at, they wanted me to take my eyelashes off. I was like, oh hell no, I'll just stay out.
They drug testing you?
They didn't
No
want you taking
makeup
any of that
allowed.
pollen, huh, Priscilla?
I don't know. No makeup allowed. So they're like, are those eyelashes real? I'm like, of course not.
They just wanted to see you in your natural beauty, you know? I think we were at time on that. You want to hop on to the next one? Por favor. Viva Panama!
Rico, you're doing the next one.
Okay, 1 second.
No, you were actually supposed to introduce me, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Oh no,
it's
Rico, you are.
I'm following the run show.
All right.
Whatever. My name's Nichole West.
Up next. She's a business, agricultural, and efficiency specialist with over 12 years industry experience and enough trivial knowledge to have once been called jail Juggle, if you will, by fellow inmates in Colorado. Coming to the stage next, you know who it is. It's the bullshit busting general data bitch herself, Nichole West. What you got for us? This beautiful.
The
Thursday
sound
morning.
effects were worth the wait on that one, Rico. Definitely. That was beautiful. So my headline today is actually, I'm going to do a little spice for y'all ass today. When I originally left State of Cannabis, the previous show that we were on, it was over some disagreements in regards to a conversation that we were having about Bill 1186. And well, in case anybody was curious, SB 1186 has passed. Way to go, Weed for Warriors, and Senator Wiener and everybody on that. My headline today is about a ton of bills that are being passed. I am going to bring Sean up to discuss what 1186 does, but I want to make sure that everybody knows the bills that are sitting on the block right now waiting for the governor's signature. So in the past several weeks, about a dozen cannabis bills to reform cannabis have reached the finish line and now are just pending signature from the governor. The bills include SB 1326. Cabrero's measure would set the stage to allow interstate marijuana commerce from California to and from other legal states, contingent on an official assurance that the activity would not put the state at risk of federal enforcement action. SB 1326. I think that's super interesting and definitely worth talking about. AB 2188, the Assembly bill, quirk bill would make it unlawful for an employer to discriminate against a person in hiring, termination, or any condition of employment or otherwise penalize a person solely because of off-duty marijuana use. That's a big deal. We talked about that yesterday, and I want everyone to pay attention. AB 2188. Everybody, remember that one. California, AB 2188. We should not be firing people or discriminating against people for their off work cannabis use, and especially if we're allowed to drink alcohol, there's no reason why we should not be able to smoke cannabis when we talk. All right, so another bill, SB 1186, is the one that we are referencing today, and I want to bring Sean up to discuss that one. This bill would allow for to prohibit a local jurisdiction from adopting or enforcing any regulation that prohibits the retail sale by delivery within the local jurisdiction of a medical cannabis to medical cannabis patient or other primary caregivers by medical cannabis business. So this was something that was a really big deal because they were not allowing, they were going to allow for cities to not allow deliveries into their town if they had their own delivery service, from what I understand. So Sean, can you let us know what this bill is about and why we need to make sure that the governor signs it? I know there's a lot of spice around it, but I do have a few more bills that I have to get to before the show is over. So if you could, Sean Kiernan is one of the directors of Weed for Warriors organization, probably one of the only veterans organizations that I've seen really getting out there and getting medicine in patients' hands on a regular day-to-day basis. They are helping thousands of veterans every month get access to cannabis. They work with Jason Beck's dispensary and multiple other dispensaries around the state of California. Sean, tell us about 1186 and what it means to the patients and to the veterans and why the governor needs to sign it.
Awesome, Nichole. Thank you very much. Talk about Panama. It sure has changed than when I served there in the late 80s and early 90s. It's a beautiful crew with beautiful people, Rico. I didn't know you were from Panama, so your background. So one love. I used to Fort Davis, Panama, out near Cologne, and it's definitely changed since the free trade agreement went through. We need to talk, brother, because there's a lot about it. That's amazing. Yeah, SB 1186 in California with the advent of Prop 64, 70% of the state had no access, legal access. They had access through the illicit market. And so the problem is where cannabis is accessible, we see lower suicides and lower overdoses. In the middle of the suicide and overdose epidemic, that matters for veterans and non-veteran patients. And so what we've been trying to do is open up that access along with Senator Weiner and so many other people who mistakenly thought it would be open with Prop 64. But our government doesn't work that way, I guess. And so we've been working behind the scenes, and this is a unique way to say that, as Alice Huffman from the NAACP said in a BCC meeting at the time when they were BCC, said, local control is not allowed to block the delivery of a legal good and service to a private residence on public homes. Well, local control had a different view on this, and they didn't care. And so what SB 1186 does is it enshrines as a legal right the legal access to delivery for medical patients in the state of California, anywhere in the state. So where we had local jurisdictions blocking access, saying you could not deliver to their city and community, that will no longer be allowed. There was a lawsuit that the state backed down from for political reasons that we were involved in. And this is the final culmination that says, no, a patient has the right to receive legal cannabis via a legal company to their door at a private residency on public roads. There's not a damn thing the government can do about it. And so that's what SB 1186 is. It was passed in a unique way. It's the first time that, because McCursa and they were having problems getting to that 2/3 threshold that's needed, they did an end round, kind of like you would see Mitch McConnell. It seems like the Democrats are growing some huevos here. And they did an end round and only needed a majority vote. So it got passed, and it will go to Governor Newsom. And I'm pretty confident the gentleman is going to sign it. And we want to say thank you to Senator Weiner. And we want to, in advance, say thank you to Governor Newsom for delivering on his promise to make sure veterans and non-veteran patients have legal access to cannabis in the state.
Thank you so much, Sean, and thank you for coming on to the show. I think it's beautiful and kind of ironic to bring you back on. I'm just coming back. We relaunched the show, High at 9 News, so thank you for coming on. If you could, whenever you have some good news, bad news, anything, feel free to chime in. We're always interested to hear what's going on the ground out there, and we see you. We appreciate you, and we see all the things that you're doing for the community. So big ups to the We for Warriors and 1186. Keep pushing forward on that. And so I'm going to go over some of the other bills. We have AB 1885. This bill, Assembly Bill Ash Kohler, would prohibit regulators from penalizing licensed veterans who recommended medical cannabis for animals and veterinarians who recommended medical cannabis for animals and revise the state law. Oh, that's actually really interesting. So AB 1885. So that's something right now that's a huge deal. And under the DCC regulations in the state of California, you're not allowed, it says on the government warning, do not give to children or animals. And there's a carve out that allows for children to be given medicine if they're under review of 2 doctors, but there isn't one for animals. So that's actually really interesting. AB 1885. AB 1954 would make it so that doctors could not discriminate against patients by denying medications or treatments based on positive THC testing. That is also a really big fucking deal, because when people say that you can't get a medicine because you have THC in your system, they're calling you a drug addict, and that is not fair. They don't say that you can't get a Xanax because you drink alcohol, and everyone knows that Xanax and alcohol could kill you in your fucking sleep, but they don't say, oh, you have alcohol in your system. So that's a very big deal. We need to definitely have that conversation. AB 1954. And there's a bunch of other ones. I know we're short on time on this, but I just wanted to thank you, Sean, again for coming on. Definitely check out this article. It's on Marijuana Moment today by Kyle Yeager. We definitely hear from him a lot. And I'm Nichole West, getting high at 9 with y'all.
I mean, this is big, but at the same time, do you think all of them are going to get passed?
No, but I called out the ones that I definitely think were important, which is the pharmaceutical one for people to be able to not get denied medicine. That's a big fucking deal. The veterinarians being able to get it to pets, I think that's a big deal. People love their pets, and it's a really fucking lame thing that we can't make a CBD for dogs specially formulated or THC.
And it's a very lucrative part of the industry too. People pay
Sure,
premiums
but
for that.
Sure, but people love their fucking pets. And so you shouldn't stop us from getting medicine. You shouldn't stop us from getting delivery access everywhere. And you shouldn't stop us from giving it to our pets. Like, these are all things that I think that we need to talk about. And you shouldn't stop us from getting fucking jobs, you know? And so those are the carve outs that I wanted to make mention. There was a bunch on there. Like I said, read it, but I called out the ones that, like, for us as humans, and also, you know, for access, were, to me, I think the most important, and also the most likely to get signed, in my opinion, as well.
I think three things that everybody can agree on: support for pets, veterans, and fucking money, right? And the economy. And cannabis right now is supporting all of those. So, like, why would you be against pushing forward legislation for cannabis? If you're a prohibitionist, then you're just anti-American, pretty much.
Well, and I would also suggest, in the spirit of today's holiday of National Letter Writing Day, write a letter to your lawmakers, write a letter to Newsom, and tell them you want this shit passed.
Yes. Thank you so much, Gretchen.
National Letter Writing Day.
That is our call to action today. National Letter Writing Day. Definitely, if you are in California, check this article out and write a letter to the governor.
I really enjoy
Gretchen,
writing letters.
Best call ever. And you know what? That's a great segue to get into our next correspondent, Mr. Jason Beck, longest running retailer in the history of cannabis, our very own Kaiser Brose, and the member of whatever political party might piss you off today. Jason, what do you have for us this morning/afternoon?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're here to piss people off. That's right. It's Thursday. It's September 1st. You know what I'm saying? It's the first of the month. You know, shout out to all the people getting paid today on the first of the month. But today, my story comes out of Kentucky. Okay, get ready, you guys, because Kentucky court reduces charges on MB player Montrezl Harrell upon marijuana trafficking case. The Madison County Court in Kentucky decided to reduce the felony charge of marijuana trafficking imposed in May on NBA player Montrezl Harrell. According to Harrell's attorney, the penalty was reduced from a felony marijuana trafficking to a misdemeanor cannabis possession. Harrell is a devoted family man and a committed professional basketball player, and has never been a part of any form of marijuana trafficking or any other illegal activity, told the TMZ Sports. His attorney, Drew Feinling, states. That was his quote. Okay, but I'm gonna find some. I don't think this quote is too accurate, but nonetheless, in addition, Harrell, who's part of the Charlotte Hornets, pleaded guilty to the misdemeanor charge, which will be expunged from his record after 12 months if he has no further legal trouble, reported ESPN. Harrell was pulled over by a state trooper on May 12th in Richmond, Kentucky. Trooper Jesse Owens stated that when he stopped Harrell, he observed an odor of marijuana. How you observe an odor of marijuana is fucking beyond me, but I could see you smelling it, but observing it is kind of fucking little horse shit to me. From the vehicle, he says. And Owens says Harrell admitted to being in possession of marijuana and produced a small amount from his sweatpants. After Harrell's rental car was searched, 3 pounds of marijuana in vacuum-sealed bags were found in the back seat, and Harrell was charged with trafficking less than 5 pounds of cannabis. If he would have been convicted of that charge, he could have faced up to 5 years in prison. The sale or trafficking of 8 ounces or less than 5 pounds is a Class D felony, which is punishable for a first offense by 1 to 5 years imprisonment and a fine of $1,000 to $10,000, stated the Kentucky law. Harrell, who was acquired by the Charlotte Hornets in a trade with the Washington Wizards at the trade deadline last season, averaged 13.1 points and 6.1 rebounds on 64.5% shooting from the field between the two teams. Well, I'll tell you what, the only way you get those kind of charges dropped, from my experience in the legal world of getting busted and having to deal with court, is you snitch. And so, you know, I'm not calling him a snitch, but I'm saying if I was part of his team and part of his homies, I would definitely be wondering if the police are going to be coming and knocking on my door soon, because you know the rule, tell on 3, go free, which is what happened to this guy. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the State of Cannabis News Hour. Oh, wait.
I think his name's
hell no. Sorry about that. This is High at 9 News, everybody.
I think his name is pronounced Montrell Harrell.
Whatever.
And I would like to add to that, yes, Jason, if either you're snitching or you have a lot of fucking money.
No, I'm not buying that, bro, because that's not equal justice. That is
Jason,
definitely not equal justice.
You think America delivers equal justice?
Yeah,
all the time.
What
Jason,
the
I'm
fuck
sorry.
planet is
How much did he have?
He got pulled over. He had a little baggie of weed in his pocket, and then he had 3 pounds in the back seat that were all vacuum sealed for sale.
Jesus.
He
Yeah,
produced
no,
it
Or
from
he
his
bought.
pocket.
not for
Or he
sale.
just
He
bought.
bought it. Yeah.
Whether he bought it or not, they were packaged for sale, regardless of whether he bought it or not.
No, they said that he produced a bag in the article. He produced a bag from his pocket.
He produced a
Is what the
bag from
article
his.
said.
No, it said he produced a bag from his
I
pocket. Then
observed,
on further
and then he produced
search,
a bag.
then
and I'm like,
no, but then upon further search, they found 3 pounds of weed that were vacuum sealed in the back seat.
Dude just signed a 2-year, $18.9 million guaranteed contract.
he
I
just wanted
find
to
it.
get high.
Right.
No, I don't know. I think he was.
Also-
I think he was running a side job for somebody
Preservative tax.
No,
Right?
Yeah.
nobody
for like BMF or something.
Oh, come on,
I'm
bro.
sorry. And
Yeah,
BMF in Kentucky.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they're
he was
deep out
taking
there.
it back to the
It's
crib
global.
to like bag it up into the little fucking fake cookies Mylars. Like,
selling it in all 10 sacks at Hornets games.
Oh my god.
I think
Maybe
he just
maybe
wanted
he's
to
getting
have
it
weed
over
in
to
his
the
house.
food
A
trucks in New
like
York.
literally when you have that kind of money and you get weed that's like really good, like you buy several pounds, like people do
Right.
that. Like that's
Yes.
not
Yes.
outside of the
Yes.
fucking ordinary to have multiple
right.
pounds vacuum sealed when you're a wealthy person
Right.
to keep weed. Like he went to go get some fucking weed. He had a hook and he
What's
didn't need a
consistency?
middleman because all of a sudden he has money now and
If
he
he
didn't
has-
he was just going back to the guy that he normally bought weed for, but
I'm
this
not
time he got
buying
to
it.
get bigger bags. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not buying it.
I
I'm not
hear
buying
what
that.
you're-
And athletes
could have
roll
paid a
in
driver.
garages. You
Wow.
have a huge crew of people that all smoke fucking good weed. You buy fucking big ass.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He
You'd share.
He should have had a driver driving that instead of
But
him
he
being
should-
the
I agree with
thing.
that.
Okay,
Jason, I agree
he's
with
the
that
he's the
too.
money
I agree
maker,
with that
and he's
too.
putting himself in extreme
We
jeopardy.
all agree with
Facts.
that. We all
Yes.
agree with him, but he should have been
What-
smarter no matter what he was doing. He should
What'd you
been
have to say
smarter.
on that, Gretchen?
I mean, I hear what we're saying. Celebrities, people with money buy a shit ton of weed just because they like what they like. But I mean, that's not an excuse for a guy who's, some nobody. I mean, that guy's going to the federal pen for 3 pounds. I mean,
That's my
Well,
whole
should
point.
there be a
They
difference
would have,
together?
have money.
If he wasn't,
what if
if
it
he
was
was not a
somebody else?
basketball player, he'd be washed like detergent
if it was
soap.
somebody
I agree.
else, would y'all be
Oh,
joking
yeah.
that this is
Yeah.
how it is? You just buy a couple pounds. That's he's
Exactly.
gone.
No,
Possibly
no,
could be
that's
Well,
what
ruined.
if
an
it was a
NBA
different
player.
person, if it was a different person, then they wouldn't. We know what they were doing with the pounds
Exactly.
to distribute.
That's
Well,
what- that's
this
what I
guy
think
is
he was
not
doing.
Distributing. How is he
Yeah,
not?
he
He's
has.
not
I think he's
Yeah.
totally distributing. I
Okay,
totally
so-
think he's distributing.
Jason, you
I'm
said
not
For
saying
sure.
he's not. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I want to be very clear about this. I'm saying that there's a high likelihood because he has money and I'm saying I know a lot of wealthy people that buy weed this way.
right.
This is how they buy their weed. I'm saying firsthand experience. All the ballers I know that smoke good have like several pounds of the shit that they smoke vacuum sealed in their fucking pantry. Like
You
the
know,
ballers
yeah.
I know, like have it literally in the, like in
Yeah,
their
that's
kitchen.
in their
I-
pantry,
I-
not
I-
in their
also
back
flex.
seat,
It's not
Nicole.
new dope.
I'm
If
not
a
saying
new
they're
dope
not
strain
drug
comes
dealers.
out,
I'm saying
if a
that-
new if a new dope strain comes out, that's a fucking flex. You put a bunch of fucking
Yeah.
vacuum seal
Yeah,
shit up.
exactly.
You put that shit in your fucking in your Louis V fucking duffel, and you have that
I'm
shit
saying.
on the fucking countertop
saying,
when your
that's all
homeboys come
I'm-
over.
Especially
That's all I'm
if
saying.
it's fucking
What, it's gotten
greasy
that
flat.
I'm
bad.
saying it's a possibility. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but we got to get to the.
Hold on.
next story.
We Priscilla came up to comment. Priscilla, do you have something to say on this? 20 seconds or less, Priscilla.
3 pounds ain't shit. He just got
Exactly.
that for the bitches.
Exactly. He bought that for the
He ain't
bitches. He bought that to
pushing
put in a
nothing. Got that
cool
for the
jar.
bitches. That's
Yeah, you
it.
got.
He got one of
If
those
you're
cool
distributing
glass-
3 pounds, like what do you get? You're breaking that shit into dime sacks, and you
Yeah,
push
that's
that
what I'm
shit
saying.
out.
That's what I'm
Pencil,
saying.
yeah.
He's gonna get cookies bags and fucking bag that
If-
shit up. Like, fuck you
if
guys. Like,
you're
come
distributing
on.
Wait, I
3
want to know what the
pounds,
strain was, though.
Jeez.
Let's find out what the strain was, because that'll tell us. Is
It's
it
nothing.
personal or
It's
not?
nothing
Blue
if you don't know
Dream.
the strain. If it was
Yeah,
Blue
yeah.
Dream, he's
Yeah.
selling
It's
it.
something
If it was
that
Blue
He's
Dream,
definitely
selling
selling it. He's definitely
selling
selling it for
That's
sure.
fine.
that will change everything. Liz, you're right. That changes everything. The
America got
if it-
questions.
Yeah, if it was like some like triangle OG, I'm like, that's the house strain,
Yeah.
bro. That's the countertop. If it was Blue Dream, I'm like, you might be right. He's selling
Right.
that to the spider mites.
He's giving
Anyways,
that
we
shit
gotta
away.
we got to get to our disclaimer and get to our next correspondence. So the thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and speakers make no legal representation regarding legal status or substance of any country, area, territory, or authorities. These expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. The sponsors do not imply, constitute, or endorsement, expression, and opinions any whatsoever any of these people on the stage. If you're easily offended, this show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Are you flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and to mention that you like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
Oh yeah. Our next correspondent splits her days and nights between political strategy and baking delicious treats. But don't let the kitchen game fool you. She is a full-time feisty red-headed conservative with Mayflower roots and shares an unhealthy love and affection for all things safe banking with Jason Beck. Coming to the stage next. It's the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider. Reporting live from the log cabin, Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us today?
Good afternoon. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment, and it is Democratic South Carolina governor nominee welcomes incumbents' attacks over popular marijuana legalization plans. Marijuana policy has reared its head in yet another gubernatorial race this election cycle, with the Republican South Carolina incumbent attempting to dissuade voters from electing his Democratic opponent because he supports marijuana legalization. And Joe Cunningham, a former Democratic congressman, is welcoming the attention to his popular and increasingly bipartisan stance of cannabis reform. Governor Henry McMaster's campaign released an ad that attacks the Democrat nominee as a frat boy, playing a clip of him cracking open a can of beer on the U.S. House floor in late 2020 as a gesture calling for bipartisanship. The narrator then says Joe loves weed and voted against the police as a smoky filter is added to a video of him before suggesting that he lost his seat for voting in step with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on a majority of legislation. For what it's worth, Cunningham was unseated in his congressional reelection race by now Representative Nancy Mace, who strongly supports cannabis legalization and introduced a bill to end prohibition last year. Cunningham responded to the governor's ad by thanking him for pushing any incredibly popular plan to legalize marijuana in his new TV ad. He said, since the governor clearly has no ideas of his own to share, it's nice to see he decided to spend some of his money on mine. A statement from Cunningham's campaign also said that Henry McMaster is so out of touch with the people of South Carolina that he actually thinks highlighting Joe's support for marijuana legalization in an ad is a bad thing. McMaster wants to control your life, probably because he can't seem to control anything else in South Carolina. The McMaster ad isn't the first time that Cunningham has faced GOP criticism over his advocacy for marijuana reform. After the gubernatorial candidate came out with a plan to legalize cannabis for medical and recreational purposes, South Carolina Republican Party Chairman Drew McKissick voiced opposition and said the Democratic candidate wants to play with fire by embracing the policy change. But notably, a GOP South Carolina lawmaker came to Cunningham's defense last year. Representative Tom Davis said at that time, his own party stance, particularly as it concerns medical cannabis, is an intellectually lazy position that doesn't even try to present medical facts as they currently exist. Well, I find this article cute and entertaining. To me, I'm looking more at the bigger picture of how much cannabis is really going to play into the midterm elections. We've already seen other candidates starting to use it. We've seen it, of course, with good old Dr. Oz and Fetterman in Pennsylvania. I'm wondering, is cannabis really an issue? Maybe that doesn't bring voters out to the ballot box, but is it something that will keep perhaps older voters who are a little more conservative in their views just from being old, keep them from voting for somebody who might be a little more progressive than them? This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
I think it's a great way to take it back to the big picture there, Gretchen. Yes, cannabis is front and center. And I love seeing this in South Carolina, too. A little side note on the small picture there, I love the Republican infighting that's going on right here. And you see like a changing of the guard. Are you going to go with the old, crusty white man? Or are you going to go with the young, fresh white man in the Republican?
Shout out.
It's truly proving that it's a generational issue. I mean, I think that's
very
what's
much
going to
so.
turn it.
And I love the clap back to the old dude fucking in his fraternity being the Ku Klux Klan. How about that?
Yeah, it's a little hard to hide some of those old pictures. Guys need
Shout
to work
out
on that.
to Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Shout out, big ups to her supporting.
Yeah. I
cannabis.
love Nancy Mace, but the woman
We
can't get
love
another
Nancy
doctor on her
Mace
damn
here
bill.
at
Why
High
do
at
you
9
love
News.
Nancy Mace?
We
That chick has
love
done nothing.
us.
Speak
Nancy
for
Mace.
yourself. No,
You know what
no,
really
no.
grinds
Jason Beck, hold on.
Gretchen's
Did you not
gears?
hear the fucking disclaimer, bro? You speak for yourself on this show.
Yes.
Everyone speaks for themselves. You don't get to say High at 9 News.
I was
No.
speaking for myself. I'm here at High
Jason
at
Beck
9
loves,
News.
loves
Hey, but-
Nancy
but
And
Mace.
we love
I'm looking at the
some
big
Nancy Mace.
I'm looking at the big picture. The more love that we
The royal
show
we.
Nancy Mace, the more that we grind Gretchen's gear is number one. But also, we're making a major play to get sponsorship by Amazon and Coke Industries and eat
Oh, wow.
ever.
Solid play.
Because
100%. Jeff Bezos, we want your advertising dollars.
I think it's just so interesting.
false.
Liz, I would love your opinion because, Liz, I find you a bit more practical at times. But I just think it's so interesting how much cannabis is playing more into the election politics when, a couple years ago, nobody would go near this issue, with a 10-foot pole.
It was.
I mean, what else? What else do the conservatives have to talk about? Like right now, there's not a lot of good stuff policy wise, and it is not me just like throwing shots or anything. I'm just
Have
like
you seen the
calling
economy?
calling
There's
it
plenty
how
of
it
shit
is.
to
The reason there's no good policy to talk about is because the Democrats are in charge and they're implementing Democratic policies that suck balls.
Dude, they sucked balls when they were under Trump too.
The
Like
reason
all they're
there's
doing
no
is
good
it's
policy-
either you
Everybody
attack-
was eating though, bro. Everybody was eating, Rico. Now
The
people
reason
are
there's no
starving
good
in the
policy
streets.
is
Because of
nobody can
socialism?
agree.
Yeah, because Donald Trump was writing checks for everybody.
Socialism
right?
sucks, bro. You know that.
The problem is we
Donald
can't
Trump-
find any
so by effect,
consensus.
Donald Trump sucks.
All right,
Even here.
well, hey guys, I don't want to interrupt this
Sorry, Liz.
conversation. We can't go there. That can't be where we go.
What happened to that ding 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 ding?
I think it's cool that that they're fighting over this in a way because it shows how important it is. Like all of us, I think, it's just showing how it's rising and rising and rising in importance. And I think that's good.
I think it's great. I'm glad to see that they're actually having the conversation instead of it being a non-conversation piece. I think it's great. Let's keep talking about it for sure.
Yeah, but
Right.
here's my concern. My concern is they're not talking about it. He's calling him a frat boy and say he just gets high. No one's actually debating the issues of cannabis.
Oh, I guess you're right. They're using it as a crutch, but it's still a topic. Like it's something that was not.
Yeah,
They're
but-
still talking about it though, Gretchen. You can't
It's-
make the bad the enemy of the good. They're still
It's
talking
hard.
about it.
It's
at least.
hard because you're like, oh, do you want to be known that way? But then at the same time, like, damn, Tommy Chong and like High Times has done a lot for the community, even though that's how they were known. They were just known as like fucking potheads. It's like, but it's still moved the needle.
And keeping it a buck, like a lot of old school stoners are very conservative.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at that, you guys.
Dude, Cupcake doesn't agree.
Yeah.
Cupcake doesn't agree.
Cupcake is a conservative.
Oh.
She's registered to vote as a Republican in the state of California because they let
You would
anybody
register
register to
to
vote
vote.
in California,
Wait, but
whether
she
you're
seems to have
alive or
residence at
dead.
Mar-a-Lago.
Conservatives love apple pie, not cupcakes. Let's just keep it a buck here, man. Let's keep it real.
We're at time on this story.
You guys are so silly. But coming up next to the stage, she's a cannabis patient, a plant medicine advocate, and also the founder of Purple Plant Magic, the national brand ambassador for Black Buddha Cannabis, and the Encyclopedia on Power 88 in Las Vegas every Wednesday morning. It is none other than the Nicole Buffon.
Thank you, Jason, for that introduction. And good to see you, Cupcake. So today my story is from Hemp Today. It's called Hempcrete Seen as part of eco-friendly solutions in Zimbabwe's housing shortage. This is a topic that I've talked about a lot when it comes to what countries should be focusing on throughout the diaspora. The government of Zimbabwe sees a role for hemp in construction after securing a 63 million line of credit from an African fund to develop eco-friendly buildings. National Housing and Social Amenities Minister Daniel Garwe said the financing will help the country to meet its target of raising 220,000 housing units by 2025, indicating hempcrete, precast concrete slabs, reclaimed steel, and Farak will be used in the initiative. The financing is from Nairobi, Kenya-based Shelter Afrique, a Pan-African financial institution that supports the development of the housing and real estate sector in Africa. Zimbabwe is a shareholder in Shelter Afrique, also known as Company for Habitat and Housing in Africa. Government migrated from only use of brick and mortar strategies to the application of new technologies in housing delivery, Garwa says. We developed some technologies, consulted countries abroad where these technologies have been applied, among them Dubai and South Africa. The government is starting the process of building a factory to turn out green building materials with separate funding from Shelter Afrique, according to the minister. In its efforts to mitigate the effects of climate change, Zimbabwe last year upped its commitment to greenhouse gas reduction from 33% to 40%, meaning the country would curb emissions to roughly 45 million tons across all sectors of the economy. The government has said that if no action is taken to reduce carbon in the atmosphere, emissions could hit about 75 million tons by 2030. Under the Housing Ministry's tender program, participating companies bring their own financing to develop designs they submit for approval. Garwe said the Procurement Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe has approved the tenders and some construction could begin by October. In the project's first phase, 4 developers will be assigned to a province and produce a minimum of 100 blocks of flats at a rate of 20 units per month. We expect that in 12 months, we will have produced 1,200 blocks of flats per province of 20 units each. Zimbabwe's government earlier this year announced a separate $377 million project to deal with a housing shortage by constructing affordable homes. The country's poor find it difficult to build homes because of the high cost of construction in Zimbabwe, which has the highest prices in the region for cement, leaving them to live in dwellings made of plastic, mud, or more than 1.5 million Zimbabweans have been on housing waiting lists for homes, many of them for more than a decade. Promises for home building often come ahead of elections, which are set for next year. The Shelter Afrique loan facility has been extended to CBZ Bank Limited. So I'm excited to see that this is happening in Zimbabwe, that they're taking a serious look at what Hempcrete can do and creating construction materials from hemp. And this is something that I've been advocating for with the Rastafarian tribes that I work with, is to make sure that we're focusing on land-race genetics throughout this region, since we know that the plant loves the climate through the closer you get to the equator. And so I think that this is going to be amazing for Zimbabwe. And I'm really hoping that Africa takes advantage of how much amazing hemp that it can grow for both medicine and as a commodity. This is Nicole reporting for High at 9 News. I'd love to hear what my correspondents think about this.
I agree with you so much on this, Nicole, and thank you for covering this. And I hope that it actually goes into fruition. I think the key excerpt from your story was, I think, one of the last lines. It says, promises for home building often come ahead of elections, which are set for next year. I hope this isn't another bait and switch just to get people into office saying that they champion these efforts. And I really hope that they're tracking the sources of the materials. They're tracking the sources of pretty much everything and the banks in this project. And they follow the fucking money and make sure these people aren't taken advantage of yet again.
I just went to South Africa about 4 or 5 months ago, and I went to some facilities, the grow facilities out there, and I will have to say that, like, the amount of money that's getting put in, like, they were beautiful, don't get me wrong, they were big and whatever, but the amount of money that's getting put in, the facilities, how much they actually did, right? The facilities are beautiful, but like no.
It's a
And it's
facade.
not, you didn't, where did you spend all this fucking money? Like, they're gorgeous. And so like they present really well, you know? But if you're not sitting there, like, and then the amount, when you look at the amount of kilos actually going out, that, I mean, the government's claiming, at least, because they have, this is all public record, right? Like the international trade, because South Africa isn't selling weed to themselves because it's still illegal in South Africa. So everything in South Africa is being exported. So it's like a super easy way to like hide everything, and your country have no fucking idea. And all of the things that were happening are basically like 2 or 3 companies in like partnership with the government. And it's just like
the big collapse SPAC out there it just seemed like a fucking scam. Like,
yeah, and so
100% seemed like a scam.
And the same thing that's happening in Ghana right now, like I'm watching it and I'm just like, this is fucked up. Like this is, it's not, and it's, you know, people showing up and being like, this is what we're gonna do, and then some people believing it and falling victim, and then a bunch of other people knowing that this is a scam, and we're just fucking gonna keep scamming until stop until the well runs dry. Yeah,
they're learning from the success of China doing that and just building I wasn't gonna say that, but building a bunch of shit and saying like, oh yeah, this is great, like, you should invest in this.
Yeah,
and then a bunch of people invest in it, like, oh, we out.
Well, China's the ultimate hustler in the way that they have gone into Africa and built all these things, and say that Africa now owes them for building a bridge or a building or whatever it might be. It's the ultimate hustle for sure.
What about the corruption between the International Monetary Fund and China with all of these investments in all of these third world countries?
America's behind all of that too. Everywhere you look, there's American money you can find being circulated. Just saying, Jason.
Follow that money.
Follow that money.
There's lots more Chinese money than American money, though, Rico. Way more.
I do like the hempcrete. I mean, it's good that it's an eco-friendly solution. I feel like it's definitely being greenwashed a lot. And Nicole, I really appreciate your insight on that, because I kind of wasn't aware of that. But now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, duh. But I think it's good that hempcrete, the word, is being pushed forward, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of big mess behind this, and it kind of seems like a little bit of a greenwash story. Though I would hope that would really help the people of Zimbabwe, who do have a housing shortage.
Right.
I think this is going to be great for the people of Zimbabwe. Personally, I really like this story. I'm a big fan of hempcrete. And I think that's going to have long ecological, economic impacts for this region as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
I would agree with Jason. I think the future of cannabis over in Africa is really going to be on the industrial side and providing that crop that many of these countries need to help build up their economies and give people the jobs and help them need.
And pay their debt to all these other
huge opportunity.
And also too, but also too, help to replenish a lot of the ground that has been tarnished from industrialization in Africa.
That's right.
And I think that's what the bigger part of all this is helping to make that a much better place to be and to live.
Yeah, like cleaning up the environment. That's a really good point. And their farmland for them, you know. And yeah, that's actually a really good point, Jason.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And there's plenty of fucking money in Africa too, so don't get it twisted.
That's why everyone. That's why everyone goes there.
There's a ton of money there. There's a ton of black.
Well, it's the only continent that has all the natural resources.
Period.
Indigenously,
and all those cannabinoids, dude, all those rare cannabinoids, and
that's right, and cultivars that exist there, and that's why I say it's so important, especially for the Caribbean, to focus on their land race, whatever that might be. It might be some rare ruderalis cultivar out there, subspecies out there that cures cancer the moment you touch it or rub it on your skin or something. You know. That we
land race is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting cannabis to its natural environment and the version of it that wants to be there is so important for us. And getting any plants, you know what I mean? It's not just cannabis. Like if you can live that life in general, like what grows here naturally, like what does well here.
People with this situation in Africa. I mean, this is one of the best things, and the reality is that everyone needs to remember that they have a cell phone in their pocket, in their hand, whatever time of the day. And so once you have that cell phone, you have a little piece of Africa with you everywhere you go.
Hello, somebody.
Shout out to Cobalt.
All right. Well, with that said, we are at time on that headline. Thank you so much for the hempcrete conversation. Definitely one that we want to keep having. And Way to make it awkward, Jason.
Anytime, Nicole. Anytime.
Thanks. I'm excited to introduce our next correspondent, Liz Rogan. She is been helping us on the back end and has been doing such a great job. And I'm just so thankful. She's a data-loving, Santa Barbara-based East Coast transplant educator, brand strategist, healthcare consultant, and the founder of the Cannabis Business Council of Santa Barbara County, and our data diva, not the data bitch, but the data diva. Liz, what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Nicole. Thanks so much for that intro. Greetings, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us here at High at 9 News. My story comes from Entrepreneur by TJ Branfelt. The headline reads, 2 convicted in Ponzi scheme involving cattle and cannabis. So here's a fun little juicy story to wrap up today. 2 people were convicted in a cannabis and cattle Ponzi scheme last week on charges including conspiracy to commit money laundering, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and 5 counts of wire fraud, facing multiple decades in prison for the $650 million scam. So 2 people are accused of running a $650 million Ponzi scheme involving cattle farms and cannabis, have convicted on a variety of charges. Basically, the pair, which is Riva J. I can't going to butcher her name, Stachnew, of Galesburg, Illinois, and Ron Throgmartin of Beaufort, Georgia, were convicted last week by a federal grand jury on 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 5 counts of actual wire fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. Court documents outlined said that the pair ran the scheme from 2017 to 2019. The victims were roped into the scheme with promises that their money was backed up by short-term investments in cattle. The victims were solicited to invest in a fraudulent Colorado dispensary called Universal Herbs, LLC. Prosecutors say the defendants made millions from the theft, but used very little of their own money. They're saying other victim investors gave the conspirators money based on false promises that investment money would be used for legitimate businesses involving related to cattle or marijuana, without having the investment money linked to specific investment opportunities. So the defrauded investors were promised returns of up to 10 to 20% within a matter of weeks. I wonder where that will come from. At no point were the victim investors told their money was being used to pay back other investors in the Ponzi scheme. And the pair faces up to 20 years for each wire fraud and 10 years for the money laundering. So their sentencing is coming in January 6th, 2023. I would love to know a little bit more about how this worked, but the story didn't go into that in detail. So maybe some people have some comments on this. Has anyone gone to that dispensary in Colorado? Liz Rogan here, getting high at 9 with you guys. What do you have for me?
So I covered the indictment. Yeah, I covered the indictment on this one. I want to say nearly a year ago in our last show. This shit's crazy. This shit was
super crazy.
The whole fucking story was crazy. They held these investment group meetings and everything. They were owners of a dispensary.
And then Tweedleaf bought Universal Herbs after all that happened, and then Tweedleaf just got shut down for unpaid taxes. That same building that Universal Herbs dispensary was being used years ago sold that dispensary when they got caught in all this shit to Tweedleaf, and then Tweedleaf just shut down. So that building is fucking cursed. I don't know what it's gonna be next, but
I've actually toured that building.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the whole thing was crazy, and this is just a huge warning to everybody new to the industry with deep pockets. I know shit's crazy right now. Rome is burning all around us.
This is the beginning of seeing
Rome
this.
is burning all around us, but the cannabis industry, we are at that hockey stick moment. There's gonna be a lot of stuff like this.
Oh no, yeah, we're gonna start seeing more and more of people coming down with this kind of shit more and more, because there's a lot of fucked up things that people ask for money that eventually the investors are like, what the fuck are you actually doing over there, right? And then the investors, one of them shows up. Do you ever see that documentary on the guys that were investing in China and all those businesses in China, and then they showed up and it was supposed to be a paper business, and it was called the Chinese Hustle, and it was all those businesses that were reversed in as reverse merge, and the guy shows up and he's just these are garbage plants. These aren't paper factories. These aren't any of the things that you sold us on. And so like a lot of people didn't go check out the facility, or like really, if they did, they didn't really understand what they were investing in to begin with. And so there's all this money going. And now the investors are like, hey, remember how you said we were going to be rich? Because all these people, 3 years ago, because think about it, and especially in California, money's really started to roll in about 3 years ago, promised some sort of turn. And you're going to start seeing now where those years are up. Now we're late. Now we're running into default. Now we're going to start talking about taking shit, and then you invest or you investigate, and you're like, oh wow, you guys
check out the Robert De Niro Bernie Madoff movie that I think it's on HBO Max right now. You'll see like he was just offering 10% returns, man. Like some of this stuff, it doesn't seem like that astronomical or anything, but make sure you do your fucking research. Make sure you do your research. I know there's a lot of hot products, crypto and cannabis right now. They're hot topics.
Okay, but you want to know
the
more fucked up, Rico? A lot of these people actually believe that they're going to do it though. Right. And that's the more like I go to look at these businesses and I'm like, you actually think this is going to work. And like, I see it in their eyes and I'm like,
this is America. This is America. People believe the shit that Trump says. Like,
how did it go there? Rico, come on. All right. Show's over.
I thought they were going to like feed the cattle, like some cannabis, like, so we could go back to like the chicken, I was all about like
the chicken or the egg.
Yeah, no, I'm like, come on, let's get like this beef infused with cannabis,
It's all about marketing, but make sure you guys do your research like on these people. If they're offering you, if they have projected returns coming at you and everything, make sure you run that by a licensed investor or advisor. Pay them to sit in on that meeting with you and for them to tell you like, is this a legit fucking investment or not, and put that liability on them. Like, don't come out of your pockets and just start like dropping down cash on something that is not proven, because it is not guaranteed fucking return in this industry. Like anybody that's been in this would tell you that. Like it's tough to make money and shit like this. Like there's gonna be like, just like Nicole said, there's gonna be plenty more coming very soon.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. Shows go so fast every day for us. Thank you all for coming in and giving us these amazing stories. Thank you, Sean Kiernan, for popping in and following up on 1186. Thank you, Cupcake, for being ultra cute. 3 is 4 for helping keeping us organized. Every single person for tuning in. Our sponsors. And really, just thank you all for helping us keep this shit together. And definitely some interesting news today, and I hope to follow up tomorrow and see what's up. So thanks for getting high at 9 with us, guys.
The weed I'm smoking today is actually from one of our sponsors. It's fucking
fire. Sick.
Yes.
Sick.
Nice. What is it?
It's a new strain, hasn't even came out yet, but this is when purple weed was purple weed.
All right.
Yes.
I can't wait to try some of that True OG that we have on our sponsors, man. I like drooling every time.
Fire.
Down to LA to get some of that.
All right. 3 is 4, run that outro for us.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation, and reform, data and technology, science, research, and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs, and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.